In June 2021, the Chinese diplomatic mission formally submitted its plans to the local council. And almost immediately, their hopes came crashing back down to earth.
Now let's be clear, the so-called golden era is over.
In the intervening years, relations between China and the UK had deteriorated, and as a result, the fruit also began to sour. Heritage groups objected to the symbolism of such a historic site being transformed into a foreign embassy, while local residents living next door said their concerns had been ignored. Even while we were filming this video, we were approached by neighbours who claimed that some homeowners had been unable to sell their flats because the freehold had been bought by the Chinese state. But the loudest objections came from the shadows. Concerns from the intelligence community circled on the threat of espionage. As it turns out, the prime location of the embassy would give it access to more than just prestige. Right here is the City of London, and over here is Canary Wharf. Together, they make up the second largest financial hub in the world. Sitting right in the middle of them is Royal Mint Court.
It's got a physical view of a lot of the buildings in the City of London. And where you've got view, you can have antenna that can intercept wireless signals that are going between them and wireless communications and download that. Every embassy's got the ability to suck information out of the atmosphere because it is recognised as Chinese national territory. So there's nothing we can do about it.
But what's above the embassy is not nearly as concerning as what's below it. This is the master plan of the embassy's basement. It shows the service cores, vehicle entrance and parking layouts. What it doesn't show is anything here. Now, with secure buildings like these, it's very normal to redact some information on publicly available documents. But this, along with the sheer size of the basement, caused panic among security analysts.
The basement's huge. And people can move from the accommodation blocks into the basement without being seen. Every embassy has got a secure facility within it.
But there was another very specific reason officials had to be concerned about the threat this basement posed. Running through the area are communications cables linking London's two financial hubs. Although the exact location of these cables is a secret, the risk to them was enough to cause the former head of MI6, Sir Richard Dearlove, to speak out against the plan. In an interview with the I newspaper, he said, "If there are cables under the sites, the Chinese with impunity can link into them and listen to everything or collect anything and everything going down those communication chains."
Tapping into that will give access to endless amounts of data. The Chinese hoover everything up. They're hoovering it up to put it in servers in continental China, knowing they can't process it and analyse it at the moment, but they will be able to once quantum computing comes in. And China's leading the world in development of quantum computing. And that's only a few short years away.
Shortly after the planning application was made, the head of Britain's domestic spy agency, MI5, and the director of the FBI gave a speech warning of Beijing's industrial levels of espionage.
In December 2022, the local planning committee voted unanimously to reject permission for the new embassy. No appeal was launched against the verdicts, and that was that. The plan was dead in the water. And then this happened.
And we will have a general election on the 4th of July.
Our country has voted decisively for change.
On July the 5th, 2024, Labour came to office, and just a few days later, a planning application was made to Tower Hamlets for an embassy at Royal Mint Court using an identical set of documents.
But why would the local planning committee have a change of heart now? Well, the election actually dealt the Chinese government a pretty favourable hand. You see, to get anything built in the UK, you need to apply for something called planning permission. If you want to build a bungalow, a skyscraper, or even a bridge, you've got to have that permission. Normally you'll get that from your local council, which in this case is Tower Hamlets. 99% of the time, they make the final decision. They decide yes or no whether or not you can build something. But in very rare cases, a project can get called in by a government minister, the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government. And in November 2024, that's exactly what happens here.
Up until this latest general election in the UK, the Tories were quite anti-relations with China. The new Labour government quite clearly are trying to look at where they can get trade benefit and with their policy being economic growth.
Post-election, a flurry of diplomatic activity between the two governments ensued in an effort to enter yet another new era of relations.
The one thing that the Chancellor of the Exchequer wants to do is to try and exploit opportunities that there are with the second largest economy in the world. To try and get something back again, you have to give something.
That something is the embassy. But as the new government flashed Beijing an ankle, the backlash at home was huge.